So before there was a kind of civilization, maybe pre-World War One, there was still remnants of a higher meaning to things, and maybe it was really distorted by that point, but there was still higher values. Now there are no higher values almost. Like it's all an excuse. There's no deeper spiritual meaning behind it, anything now. Before that there was a semblance of something higher, and maybe something that's still tied into something that was older and had something deeper, more natural.
The problem is there is no reference point of the high frequency. Most of the people are just dreaming. They don't know what high frequency is. They have never experienced it within themselves. So how can they actually know that this is spiritual? That this is, and again, it's not about spiritual or no, not spiritual. There is spiritual of a lower frequency, there's spiritual of a higher frequency, and there is spiritual in between. So, and everything is spiritual anyways. The problem here is we don't have the reference point. How many mortals do you have? How many people who have really how many people who cultivate themselves do you know? True spirituality starts when you realize and perceive this higher frequency within yourself. If you don't perceive this higher frequency within yourself, if you don't have that reference point, you will never know. You will continue gliding along the surface, doing all these performing spiritual actions, rituals in the name of spirituality, hoping. But the root cause of this is that you feel disempowered. That's why you need to act. You need spirituality to fulfill you somehow because you feel disempowered, because you hope that spirituality will give you power that you cannot obtain from elsewhere. And that's why the majority of people fail, because they do not come from the standpoint of natural humility and devotion to something higher than them. They come from the standpoint, I am disempowered, I feel like nothing. So I tried within the material world to get somewhere. I didn't get there. Now I need spirituality to validate myself. Now I need spirituality to explain my existence and to also give me some sense of meaning and power, because I still feel disempowered. So most of the people come to spirituality from an unhealed standpoint, from the standpoint of spiritual narcissism, from the standpoint, I feel nothing and now I need spirituality. And on one hand, it is a good incentive. It is a good way, okay, to start, to at least get that interest. But most of the time, this interest deludes them, even if they come across something genuine or where they can have a chance to spiritually evolve. Their trauma, their spiritual delusion, their ego still fools them and brings them back into the circle of karma, you may say, into the projected reality again, because they again want now to employ this knowledge or whatever they've learned spiritually for their own selfish reasons, for their self-gratification, validation, trying to be or become something here. What's the purpose? The truly evolved being understands the nature of illusion and never wants to be anything in this illusion. Even if they are something or someone in this illusion, they understand there is no purpose. It's just a role where they remain within themselves, cultivating their true essence rather than cultivating their image, their role in the projected reality. That role is just naturally there by default. How by default? By their frequency. Whoever reaches a certain level, it means it is their frequency, it manifested this way, and it will be fulfilled, and it will change at some point. That's it. That's how everything happens within this projected reality matrix. There's no other way. But many people so much emphasizes that they lose the sight of true ultimate reality within themselves, and they lose themselves to the projection. So when people come to spirituality this way, definitely they don't have reference point. So they're pushed by their trauma to seek healing and spiritual knowledge. But at the same time, they have no capacity to sustain it or cultivate it. And even if they awaken and see in glimpses this higher reality, their karmic tendencies, or in other words, this tendency of consciousness to be in a projected mode, keeps on pushing them out of this center, out of this truth within, to which they awakened, and again go back into this egotistical, individualistic paradigms of existence. And so that's how their energy gets wasted anyways. So whether they're a guru, a president, a great being, a spiritual being, or known being here in this world, it doesn't really matter. And if they support the role, that image, that wrapper of themselves, they lose their essence, or in other words, their energy, vitality, and so-called life to this projected reality. That's why they are not immortal. If they were immortal, if they understood to the core their immortal essence, not only understood, realized, but started cultivating and holding on to it, they would never lose their physical bodies like everyone else. They would crack the code of life and death, you may say. The death would become their friend, and the time would be in abundance, also their friend. And so these kind of beings are very rare. So where do we have the reference point? Right? We don't have the reference point. So do you know so many sages, are these sages and wise men walk around? Even if they did, you wouldn't know. And so how do these people know who is true and who is not? Just because people speak wisely or try to play a role, or so deep thinkers, deep meditators, all is bullshit. Because their true light essence, immortal essence, is not activated or is not cultivated, and they're just wasting their energy to prove the point, to support their external image. So these people or beings, in the name of spirituality, delude others and lead the sheeple down the cliff. That's my understanding.